The National Weather Service.
Sometimes the best way to find a living is to stay right where you are and study with UAS online. Career-specific distance programs from the University of Alaska Southeast are the fastest way to increase your earning power.
We connect all over the world.
Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. On the satellite imagery yesterday, another surge of moisture pushing in across the southeast coast, a few breaks off the coast here, and then more clouds gathering there in the western Gulf of Alaska back in toward Kodiak Island, and a lot of clouds in over the southwest interior. Some breaks up here to the north and kind of convection breaking out along that trough through the central interior. And same thing, circulation here crossing the Alaska Peninsula, and today that has shifted over to near or just east of Kodiak Island, and another front pushing more rain in across the southeast coast and rain in along the North Gulf Coast, kind of tapering off this afternoon, both in coverage and intensity in areas here, and kind of some breaks here along the lee side of the mountain ranges, and even more sunshine out in the west, especially up over the from Kotzebue Sound up over the Noatak Valley areas, and some low clouds and fog along the Arctic coast. We've got some clouds here off the southwest coast and some breaks right through here, and another system having sliding southeastward there brought some rain, fog, but not much wind into the central Aleutians. On the chart today, the main windy areas were along the Alaska Peninsula here with gusts or 20 to 35 miles per hour generally here for the Alaska Peninsula, lighter over the eastern Aleutians, and again the rain pushing into the central Aleutians there, with AKwx picking up about half an inch today or since midnight last night, and with this front here, heaviest rainfall amounts again over the central and northern areas, mainly along the coast there, which range from about 1/3 of an inch at Sitka today to 2/3 of an inch over at Yakutat. Seward, Cordova both picked up about half an inch of rain since midnight as well. Showers here for Kodiak Island, and then thunderstorms breaking out this afternoon over the interior from the southwest right on up to the northeast there, right over to the Canadian border. And also Susitna Valley had some lightning strikes, as well as the northeast Copper River Basin area. And then back here to the northwest here, a little enough clearing there to trigger those thunderstorms up in that area. Otherwise, light winds and low clouds, areas of fog dissipating this afternoon up along the Arctic coastal areas. And for tonight, we'll see that system drops off to the southeast with higher pressure building in behind. So winds stay light out here over the Bering Sea, and rain will be decreasing there over the Adak and Atka areas. And it should be a pretty good night tonight for the eastern Aleutians on up to the Pribilofs, and then look for the evening thunderstorm activity to slowly diminish to a few scattered showers here along that trough in the southwest interior, some clearing, isolated widely scattered showers over the north central part of the state, eastward across the Yukon Flats and 40 Mile Country, low clouds, fog, drizzle, IFR type weather for the Arctic coast, and showers for the Panhandle. Periods of rain here for the eastern Gulf Coast, diminishing to showers Prince William Sound. Looks like those will extend back to about the Chugach Mountains and eastward down the Kenai Peninsula areas. And for tomorrow, a much drier day coming up with a lot less wind here for the Alaska Peninsula, with just some scattered showers as opposed to the flat out rain you had today in some locations. Chance of showers Kodiak Island. And again, the showers tomorrow afternoon, scattered over the Kenai Peninsula. Should be a pretty dry day here through Cook Inlet and the Susitna-Matanuska Valley areas. This week trough out through here keeps it mostly cloudy with some areas of clearing, especially back to the west there along the Yukon Delta coast of Nunivak Island, northward into the Noatak Valley. Mostly sunny skies, light northerly breezes there, and showers, scattered thunderstorms again breaking out here over the interior areas. Should be enough sunshine breaking out again tomorrow, or at least the clouds will be thin enough to let enough insulation in to raise those temperatures probably back into the lower 70s like today. And then low clouds and fog with some clearing there along the Arctic coast. This next system approaching the coast there, but still off to the northwest. And this system here continues to drop southward, but then it looks like it's going to kind of regenerate and make a move to the north. And so on Tuesday, that takes a whack at the Alaska Peninsula with some rain over to the Unalaska Island area. Otherwise, light northerlies, fair conditions for the remainder of the Aleutian chain. And for the Gulf of Alaska, not much going on, variably cloudy, a few scattered showers, less shower activity now, drier conditions, maybe a few sun breaks there for the southeast coast. Thunderstorms possible here over the Copper River Basin, and again scattered around the interior, as there'll also be some clearing, sunshine scattered around the interior there with some isolated showers. Generally cloudy but dry for Kodiak Island, the main moisture field staying to the south, at least through the afternoon on Tuesday. High pressure back out over the northern northwest Bering Sea. Look for some clearing here. St. Lawrence Island, Nunivak Island, right up across the Seward Peninsula. And in advance of this front, not a lot of weather with this feature, kind of just hanging up along the Brooks Range there. So definitely cooler air mass to the north, warmer conditions to the south, scattered showers for the north slope. And for temperatures this afternoon there across the southeast coast, upper 50s to lower 60s, 63 both at Stewart and down at Metlakatla, 61 Juneau, 57 Sitka, Yakutat, Middleton Island, mid-50s Prince William Sound, Cordova, Valdez, and Portage there, as well as Seward, 55 degrees, 60s up in the Copper River Basin, 57 in Kodiak, lower 60s Cook Inlet, Homer, Kenai, to lower to mid-60s in the Susitna Valley, 70 degrees at Northway, about the same in Fairbanks, lower to mid-70s this afternoon up there, 73 at Tanana. One of the warmer locations, Chalk-Yitzhak there, southeast, a little bit southeast of Fort Yukon, 77 degrees. Bethel pushed up to 73, and lower 60s here, both at Anatuvik and Arctic Village, and a 53-degree reading at Umiat. Otherwise, mid-40s there for the Arctic coast and the North Slope. Upper 50s to mid-60s here for the northwest interior. Kind of a gusty wind condition at 58 degrees at Buckland. They had west winds from Buckland out to Deering, 15 to 25 miles per hour. In Kivalina, northerlies gusting 30 to 32 miles an hour this afternoon. Otherwise, mid-60s for the both Elam and Nome had 66. 60s, 65 to 70 for the southwest interior. A little cooler along the coast, lower 50s and lower 60s and upper 50s, 50s for the Pribilofs, 50s out over the Aleutians. And for the lows tonight, 50s for the Panhandle, definitely lower to mid-50s here through the central interior there from northeast to southwest, all the way down to the Alaska Peninsula, 30s up over the North Slope and mainly the Arctic coast. Highs tomorrow again, 65 to maybe 75 here, warmest conditions over the central eastern interior areas. Could be a few 70s showing up here down the river valleys there, maybe as far out to the coastline. Otherwise 60s Bristol Bay, 50s for the Aleutians, lower to mid-60s for the southeast coast. Flying weather tomorrow afternoon, VFR here developing, better conditions there for the Panhandle, still hanging on to some IFR stuff, Lynn Canal and maybe along the coastal mountains here, but VFR for Cook Inlet, much of the interior, Brooks Range northward, marginal to IFR conditions. And IFR conditions here, Bering Sea side, eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, also from the Yukon Delta up to the Bering Strait. And for passes, both Anatuvik and Adigan will be VFR throughout the day tomorrow. Both approaches, Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR, rainy, same forecast, windy, open, Isabel, VFR, Mentasta, VFR, and Tanita also looking pretty good with VFR conditions. Portage, though, Marginal VFR with some IFR possible there on the east entrance. And for Chilkoot and White, holding on to the IFR that's out in the forecast. And for the freezing levels tomorrow morning, kind of a cold pool back up here just off the Russian Far East coast there. But it's 8,000 feet, again, covering much of mainland Alaska, right into the Gulf of Alaska, out over the Bering Sea. 10,000 feet, Dixon entrance up across Hyder, and warmer conditions with upper high pressure way out there to the west over the western Bering and Kamchatka. For icing tomorrow, again along that trough here, areas of mixed icing above about 8,000 feet, and then mostly areas of mixed or rime icing here for the southeast coast, North Gulf Coast, westward to cover Prince William Sound. And looking at the jet stream, kind of a sharp trough right through here, swinging eastward there. Not really strong on the winds, just southwest 35 knots there across the Brooks Range out to the coast. And the main Pacific jet here, well south of the area, although southwest 70 cutting in across the southern panhandle. And then northwesterly 70 to 100 knots sailing down across the far western Bering Sea and Aleutians. 9,000 foot wind flow looking like this. Trough here, low pressure centers all the way down to just about off the map there. So west of those features, northerlies 15 to 20, pick up to 20 to 30 there across the central Aleutians. Lighter from the Fox Islands up into Bristol Bay, pretty light winds, even in the Gulf of Alaska and in the interior about 10 knots. 0 to 5 knots up over the central and northern interior. Southwest flow 20-25 in across the panhandle. That same flow also in the 15 to 20 knot range showing up here at 3,000 feet. Light variable winds over a good portion of interior Alaska. Out west here, northerlies 20 to 25 knots. Diminish, kind of diverge through here 15 to 20 or less for the peninsula and eastern Aleutians. Picking up a little bit here, central Aleutians north at about 30. And for turbulence, could be some light to very isolated moderate chop here from Nikolsky all the way out to Amchitka Island. And also from the southern Seward Peninsula, southwest coast, probably pull that back to the coastline a little more there to include Nunivak Island, Pribilofs. Nothing too serious at all, below about 4,000 feet. And also over the northern panhandle, eastern North Gulf Coast areas. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the ice edge and the marine forecasts.
We're at my fish camp here in East Point in Uganic Bay on the west side of Kodiak Island. King salmon, red salmon, dog salmon, pink salmon, and silver salmon. So we get all 5 species here. But in June we catch red salmon, and red salmon are what we get paid the most for. This year it's $1.60 a pound, which is a very good price. We're catching these salmon with a gill net, which is thin strands, sort of like dental floss, but a little bit tougher, but kind of that consistency and that thickness of twine. And the nets are about 14 feet deep, 900 feet long. And we tie one end of that net to the shore, and then we stretch it out and we hang it on some lines which are tethered out in the water with buoys and anchors. And we hang the net on that line so it hangs in the water like a curtain. So what we do is we go along in a skiff every few hours and we pull the net up from the cork line and we pull the fish, we unentangle them from the gill net. That's how you do it here. It's called set netting. When you think of commercial fishing, you think of just grunt labor or catching fish, but really it's about people because you're working with people. It's a cooperative activity. I mean, nobody fishes alone. Yeah, I grew up in suburban Connecticut. So I grew up in a suburban environment, kind of like Leave It to Beaver. That's what I grew up in. I didn't know anything about Alaska, but I'd always been intrigued by Alaska since I was a little kid. For whatever reason, I'd always thought of the wilderness as being a cool deal. So I bought a bus ticket to Chicago, I believe, and I hitchhiked from Chicago to Minneapolis, and I met this Chippewa Indian guy who told me that you could ride freight trains. I was like, really? This was the biggest adventure of my life. And I was reading Jack Kerouac's On the Road on this boxcar. I just thought that was the most romantic, adventurous thing, cool thing anybody could do. I remember thinking, this is the life. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. We first came out here in the summer of 1983. That was the first time we fished here. In 1982, I had a good crab season, and I was looking for something to do with the crab money that would be a way of investing in it. And a friend of mine had told me one time, the best thing you can do if you're fairly independent-minded is to buy yourself a job.
Why would you not rearrange your life to live out here, if you had the opportunity to do so? I think Alaskans understand this living as part of, the history of the state, what people have been doing, well, for thousands of years, but certainly in the historic period for the past couple hundred years. Coming out, making your way, getting a plot of land, harvesting the resource, and making it work.
So we started fishing salmon, and we didn't make any money the first year. The price of salmon was really bad that year. We were out here, me and my buddy, and then my younger brother came out. He was 17. We really had a great time. We caught a few fish, and this place is really beautiful. It was really the Alaska that I think all of us had come to find, and you never really, sometimes you find that place that you dream about as an ideal, and this place turned out, at least for me, to be that ideal Alaskan experience. And I've always thought that. I come back here every year, and this is our 31st summer on this beach. Yeah, we saw that same fish yesterday.
The exact same fish?
I'm sure it was that. That's Larry the fish.
Well, you have to love boats, and you have to love water, and you have to love Alaska, and you have to be a good boat operator, and you have to like it, and then you have to like people. So there's a number of factors that go into what makes up a water taxi operator. My name's Mako Haggerty. That's Mako like taco.
Good morning. What's going on? Yeah, good, yeah.
I live here in Homer, Alaska. I've lived here since 1982. That's 32 years. I came up here, I was a commercial fisherman, and then I got into water taxiing here in Kachemak Bay in 1996. And I've been doing the water taxi ever since. There's no such thing as a typical day. And there's no such thing as a typical day in commercial fishing. And there's no such thing as a typical day in water taxi, which is why becoming a water taxi operator was so easy for me and difficult for others, is because it's not a 9-to-5 job. A lot of people aren't mariners, so they don't understand why maybe I would do this all the time. Maybe only pick the nice days. But I actually like being out there on the rough days too. It's challenging, exciting, and fun. If you're just running a boat on flat, calm water all the time, that can be maybe a little bit boring. So every condition out there on the water I find to be enjoyable. I guess in the back of our mind, there's always danger, but I guess something could always happen. It's not something we focus on. I wanted to be a service to the people that live here, and that's basically, I think, what we've become. There's only two ways across the bay. One's by boat and one's by air. And if they can't fly into places like Seldovia, then the water taxi is the next alternative. There are people that are afraid of flying. There are people that have a lot of gear. Planes don't go everywhere. In fact, airplanes and even float planes are fairly limited in some of the places that they can access, and boats can access more places. We can pack more gear. And then, of course, there's the people that would rather take a boat than fly in a plane. Of course I've got fears. In fact, I would say that probably running boats was facing one of my fears. You know, drowning is, yeah, I do. Yeah, I would say that it's a, yeah, reoccurring dream, actually. I spend my entire life on the water, so that's probably just natural.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure.
During the summer, I'll take a lot of visitors across the bay to the park, and it'll be a bright, sunny summer day, and the water will be blue, and we might even see a whale crossing the bay, and people will come up to me and they'll tell me I have the best job ever. And I think that sometimes I do. But there are days that we go out there and we're battling the weather, the waves. We've got people on the other side of the bay that absolutely need to be picked up. So it's not a matter of choice whether or not we cross the bay. So sometimes I'll have people actually say, boy, your job sucks. Happiness is different for everybody, but yesterday I was out in the boat with some photographers, and the sun was out and the weather was really nice, and it was still winter, and we anchored up and got just some fantastic wildlife pictures there yesterday, and I realized there was no other place I'd rather be.
For the last couple of days, 2 or 3 days, this ice here has been slowly slipping southeastward in toward the coast, and today there was ice about 2.5 miles off Point Franklin. So this is going to stay basically unchanged. Definitely no strong southerly winds here over the next several days coming in. It's kind of a northwest turning west-northwest, or maybe a little southwest. But anyway, this is going to be the heavier ice area along the coast. It's pretty open back out into the Beaufort there. And moving on to the marine forecasts here, south to southwest, 15 to 20. Down south there, small craft advisories up along the north coast with seas 9 to 10 feet. Light southerlies at 15 for Clarence Strait, picking up to 20 knots Stevens Passage. And south 25 again for Lynn Canal. Eldred Rock today, we're seeing gusts about 35 miles an hour up there. And then those drop back on Tuesday down to 15 knots, 3-foot seas. Light variable winds 5 to 15 over the central and southern inside waters. Southwest 10 to 15 on the south coast. Southerlies now down below small craft advisories on the winds, but not for the seas. For the Prince William Sound zone tomorrow, east 20 knots, 4-foot seas. Southeast 25 here. For the North Gulf Coast, dropping off considerably as you head west, just north to west there at about 10, Barrens and Kodiak Island. Light variable winds, Shelikof Strait, Kamishak Bay. Pretty light winds, north-northeast 10 knots for Cook Inlet. And then on Tuesday, variable winds here at 10 knots for Cook Inlet. Pretty slight seas, east 15, Kamishak Bay, Shelikof Strait. Southeast 15 to 20 here, east side of Kodiak Island. And the Barrens, and kind of a southeast to northeast direction there from the North Gulf Coast. And now light variable winds for Prince William Sound with seas 2 feet or less. And for Bristol Bay tomorrow, southwest 15 knots. That same wind pattern here from Sitkinak to Castle Cape. And then westerlies 15 on the Pacific side of the peninsula. More northwest in the direction there on the Bering Sea side. For Tuesday, winds picking up. Small craft advisories here from Sitkinak all the way to Cape Sarachev, 25 to 30 knots. Those seas building to 10 feet. East winds also on the increase, but only coming up to about 20 knots on the north side there. Relatively light conditions for Bristol Bay. And then for the Fox Islands tomorrow, north to northeast, or call it north here, 15 knots. 25 knot winds picking up there south of the central Aleutians. Light west to northwesterlies 10 to 15 west of Adak. And about the same pattern on Tuesday out here. Again, higher pressure holding in this area, but small craft advisories now from the south sides of Adak and Atka all the way up across the eastern Aleutians, mostly generally a northerly component to all those wind fields there at 25 to 30 knots with 7 to 9 foot seas. And south of Nunivak Island, northwest, 20 knots, 5-foot seas. Northerlies, 25 knots, St. Lawrence Island, and 15 knots to the Pribilofs and St. Matthew. And then for Tuesday, a lot more in the northeast direction here, but lighter, 15 to 20 knots, north 15 for St. Lawrence Island. And then for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, really light winds, seas non-existent, north 5, west 15 here for the central coast, northwest 15 on the west side. Small craft advisories there from the Bering Strait up to Cape Thompson. And then those become even lighter, light northwesterlies, light westerlies from Cape Thompson here, all the way up to the central coast, and then pick it up to 15 knots there along the east side with those seas running at about 3 to 4 feet. And for tonight, rain becoming more showery here over the Panhandle. Again, periods of rain continue from, say, Elfin Cove to maybe Cordova, then just showers across Prince William Sound, and pretty dry evening here later on and throughout the night for Cook Inlet, Susitna Valley, right up into the interior. Again, those thunderstorms that broke out this afternoon going on now, those will be diminishing to just a few scattered showers, and the winds diminishing along with the rain for the Alaska Peninsula. And that next system drops out of the picture just about on Monday there. Still some moderate rain possible around the Yakutat area tomorrow. Rain periods of over the northern Panhandle. Scattered showers, thunderstorms, some clearing periods over interior Alaska. And then for Tuesday, this system again redevelops and pulls back to the north with rain, increasing wind here for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutian areas, otherwise partly sunny. Should see some more sun here over southern Alaska and a lot less in the shower activity. And same thing for the Panhandle, no change.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.